Do you hear that? Do you? It sounds to me like it's Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two first-time readers, Justin Sheta, and chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. Today, we will be chronicling Elantris Chapters 14 through 17. And now, let's throw it over to our host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe!
Thank you, Joe. Hey, yeah, so, as he said, this is Cosmere Chronicles, or CC for short, and I am once again joined by Justin Sheta. How are you two doing today?
I'm doing swell as heck.
Pretty good.
That's all right, yeah, because that's what people want to hear. Okay, all right, so before we get into everything, I'm just going to throw you two on the spot, and one of you guys recap what happened in last week's episode.
Nose goes.
No, this is the one I didn't read twice. So,
Last week's, what happened?
last week's. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Last week, Sarene goes to the rebellion meeting with her uncle and step cousin. She meets five kind of lord people from the town, and she is told about some balls that she's been missing out on, and she'll probably be more on the social scene after that. Then we have a Hrathen chapter where he is preaching, and it's not that exciting for him until Deloff gets on stage and everyone's all riled up from it. Then we find out that Hrathen and his emperor use seance to communicate. Then we see Raoden in Elantris, and we found out a ton of stuff about Kuroda and her people. They go outside into the castle, right? And then they come back in. And then Kuroda shows Raoden all the kids of Elantris that she's been taking care of. And Raoden tells her they're gonna start farming in Elantris, and they agree to team up.
All right, that's good. You get 1 point of inspiration.
Yay! Wait, when do we use those?
How does that work in a podcast setting?
Well, I'm gonna make a note of it, and I'm gonna use it.
You can undo one thing you say.
Yeah, I'll be like, can you cut that out?
So, quickly, without getting too much detail, how did you two think about this week's chapters?
I thought that they were really playful. A lot of stuff happened, and then we get to know the characters on another level.
That's what I was going to say, too. I feel like we got quite a few insights on each of their, thoughts
Personal
and feelings on their struggles, their thoughts and feelings about life and what's going on that we didn't have as, they had to set everything up and the characters up before we would be interested enough to know about that stuff about them.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just jump in. And we'll go into going over the chapters. Starting off with chapter 14. This is a Sarene chapter. So it starts off with Sarene is taking part in one of Queen Eshin's embroidery groups. Even though Sarene is terrible at embroidery, she still decided to start coming to these because she wants to get some of the gossip and information from the women that's at the groups. So the group consists of around 10 women, and some of the women in there are Deora, Cain's wife, Atara, who is Telrii's wife, Sidon, which is Ahon's wife, and Tarina, who is Ahon's daughter. In the group, they talk a little bit about how the pious Warren has converted to Shu-Dareth. They then start asking Sarene about what she would do back at her home for fun. They had heard that women in Teod would sword fight and kill each other for the sport of men. And Sarene corrects them by saying that they were fencing and they did it for themselves.
They kill each other for the sport of men was too funny of a rumor to drift over there.
Yep, and swordplay, that is frowned upon by Raoden, and none of the noblemen carry swords.
That was horrifying to learn. That's so bad for them, especially if they're scared of uprisings and stuff. Makes the city seem so soft.
Yep. Aanden calls fighting peasants' work.
Yeah.
And the only noblemen who are able to fight were Aanden and Shuden, and also Raoden before he, in their eyes, died. And
I was
since none of
surprised
them,
to see that.
That he knew how to sword fight.
Yeah, that he'd want to do that. Now we know
Well,
if they
to
ever
piss
get
off
in
the
a
top, right?
Yeah, but he probably thinks, I should learn how to do that.
Yeah.
and since none, and so since none of the men fight, and they see that as beneath them, then Sarene feels like Aanden won't object to the women learning how to fence.
Yeah, that was I got nothing, sorry.
Oh, I like her more seeing her like wordplay and like political maneuverings to get people to do what she wants and stuff.
Yeah. The idea, it's just so funny that he's in a kingdom where swordplay would look like women's work, or women's play, like beneath a man. It's so weird. This really feels like a merchant kingdom. I've never seen a city like this in a thing. Like that explicitly, I should say.
So later on, Sarene, she's back in her room getting ready for a ball, and she asks Ash what he has learned about Elantris. Ash had some trouble learning because the people of Kay don't want to speak of the city. The Seons don't know much about Elantris, and the mad Seons that are inside Elantris are unable to speak. The Elantrians that Ash found were either scared of Ash, or all they simply did was beg for food. The only source of information Ash could get about Elantris was from the Elantris guards.
I would have loved to see him going around and asking crazy Seons and Elantrians these questions. That would have been a hilarious chapter.
Yeah, that would be a scene
Hey.
in a movie.
Oh God, yeah.
Hey, what's it like in here? Food. I'm a ball light, but yeah. Do you guys have society or food? Hurts so much.
Feel like I just saw Brandon Sanderson's words come to life.
Did they say are the Seons they are just light? You can't grab them or anything?
I
Or
don't
did they
remember.
not say? Okay. I thought they were made of metal for some reason.
I always imagine they were like, I'll say later because it's kind of, or like orbs, like Eye of Sauron orb type things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're floating orbs of light
Yeah,
with an aeon in their core.
yeah, that makes more sense.
They're described as melon-sized.
Yeah,
They do have a physical form?
well, a light
Okay.
form,
Okay. Well,
but I don't
yeah,
think you
well,
can play volleyball with them.
yeah, like I wonder if you could carry it. Well, put it in a bag.
Well, they got that one in a box somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Hrathen
what I'm
has
saying.
one.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume that's some kind of magic thing, not like, I don't know though. I have no idea.
Yeah, so Ash talked to the guards of Elantris, and the guards told Ash that the Elantrians forget who they are when the Sheo takes them, and that they become more like an animal. And since Ash mostly spoke to the Hoid inside the city, he believes that they lost that part of the Sheo, makes them lose their mind. So Sarene believes that the Sheo is both mental and physical. And Ash does not believe that that the Elantrians that they have a society. And then Ash also looked in the dungeons, but he did not find Raoden in them. Sarene feels like that they should instead try to look for the assassin, that they're not going to find Raoden. She decides to have Ash start looking into Cain and try to dig up any problems that Cain might have had that made him get disinherited. All right, so then Sarene goes to the ball, and she is Shuden's guest for the ball. Shuden is glad that
Did you just ooh?
Yeah. Shuden is the handsome one.
Is this a new nightmare ship you're doing?
A nightmare one. But I could see it. Like,
Sheta did, part of her predictions last week, she did say that every member on the little rebellion thing was going to fall in love with Sarene in some way.
Yeah.
Serene's getting her own harem in Sheta's version of the story.
Mm-hmm. And they even set it up for me. All the guys in there are gonna take her out to the balls. I want because just not to be suspicious or look bad.
A bunch of them are married, right?
Yeah, but doesn't mean they can't be, have feelings for her too.
Both Ahon's wife and daughter are in the embroidery group. Do you still think he's gonna fall in love with Sarene?
I think, well, it doesn't have to be fall in love, but like he already kind of liked her for her spunkiness. So people can have mistresses.
Yeah, I'm sure Sarene would love that.
We haven't heard much about the culture like in that way in this world. So
I don't think she's the type of person to do embroidery and do fencing with a man's woman and daughter, and then go be that man's mistress.
maybe they're cool with it. Some people are different.
Yeah, Joe, you got to stop being so judgmental.
She could be like like also be with his wife and then kind of be like a big sister
All
to
right,
the.
all right.
Yeah,
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay. Oh, I don't think you're getting a grasp of the character if you think that's gonna happen.
I think she's
Well,
trolling
it's mostly no, but we don't know the culture of the place. I think it's unreasonable for them to have her never get married, but never hook up with anyone ever again and stuff. I think that's too much to expect.
Right. Anyways, Shooten is glad to be with Sarene because since he is one of the most eligible bachelors in the court, Serene's presence will keep the other women away for once. The ball is at Telrii's mansion, and it is overly extravagant. Sarene notices that none of the faces, became angry or turned dark when Shooten went to talk to them, and she sensed that his popularity came from him being polite, considerate, and frankly honest. So it helps her realize that, he's a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Shooten brings Sarene to the second, more exclusive party at the ball. Because whenever Aanden goes to a ball, he finds his own separate room, and the higher nobles congregate to him in kind of a second party. Shooten notes that Aanden and Telrii are in the same business. Sarene notices that Hrathen is also in the king's party room. At the past balls, he would just show up and come into the room as if he belonged.
Yeah, I love the description of him just showing up like that, and it was so funny sounding. Him just wandering into these things.
And also here we learn a little bit more about the religion. Shooten is a follower of Shu Kessig, which both Shu Korath and Shu Dareth are branches of. Yeah, so Kessig, he taught of unity. And Shu Kessig follows the unity of the mind, Shu Korath follows unity of love, and Shu Dareth follows unity of obedience.
I love getting to finally know what the difference is between some of those things. And even though they seem so similar, those are huge differences.
And we also learn a little bit in this part is that, Shooten, normally when he would come to like the king's little party, he could only be there for like an hour before he just get on the king's nerves because he's a baron, not a duke, but due to, his, being the go-between for trade, that has allowed him to push more than he really should be able to. But this time, since he's with Sarene and she's the princess, he's able to stay longer because the only people that outrank her is the king and queen. And it just makes...
Yeah, when he points out just how high ranked she is, which she didn't really realize, right?
Yep.
It's interesting how many, she's all smart at all this stuff, but all her biggest powers in her new position seem to completely go over her head sometimes.
Yeah, she said that kind of lording your position wasn't a thing she grew up with back home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that people really liked to do here. Like,
mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that is. I hope she gets it soon and takes over.
And I think part of it, too, comes with the fact that while comes here, she is the princess. She might not feel as much like a princess of Erelon since she never actually met and technically married Raoden.
Mm-hmm. So I think her mind is too focused on political machinations. She forgets about the social status aspect of everything. She's too used to being smart instead of just being, born into something, even though she was over there too.
Just privileged. Yeah.
Yeah, privileged, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then Shooten talks, and he says that he feels like Hrathen is dangerous because he had visited one of Hrathen's sermons and saw that Hrathen preaches from the mind and not the heart. He's also bothered by the fact that Warren had converted to Shu-Dereth and is now using his association to Hrathen in order to enter the king's party, when before Warren would not have been able to come in there. Sarene is upset that Hrathen has a week's edge on her by coming to these balls before.
The idea of Hrathen at these balls is just too hilarious to me. He's so out of place.
I thought it was so fun when she's like, "What is he doing here?" Like he just
Especially standing in the inner circle room, like he has any right to be there.
in full armor. Oh, the way they described his
full
armor
armor
was
too.
so funny. His pauldrons were like a foot up, like away, like from him, like a foot long. Like, dude, just ridiculous.
And so Royal comes over to Shuden and Sarene. Royal is the only bachelor at Erlon that is more sought after than Shuden. Because even though he's older, Royal's wife had passed away 20 years ago, and he has no heir. So any woman, she would only need to marry him and deal with him for a couple years. And then once he passes away, she'll be able to use his money with whatever younger lover she decides to take.
Yeah, all she'd need to do is find a young lover to help her spend it. But she thinks I wouldn't make her work for it. I thought that was funny.
Royal, he
Earn
feels
that
like
inheritance.
Yeah.
he talks about how, they don't think they'll be able to do my manly work, but I still can.
Yeah. Oh well. I like how he's tempted by it from time to time.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was going to just be a kindly old man.
No, he's a dirty old man.
As he chuckles at, right?
Yeah, well, he does, but Shuden just blushes.
So Royal feels like there is some sort of connection between Telrii and Hrathen, and that this party is overly extravagant for some sort of reason.
Mm-hmm.
Later, when Telrii enters the room and Sarene sees them, she becomes convinced that Royal's feelings are correct.
Yeah, the way Telrii interacts with everyone was very interesting. I like the part where it's saying how everyone else is very polite and cordial, but he's like too cool, doesn't care, devil may care attitude for everyone. He really seems like a rich bourgeoisie type guy.
But Shuden says that he may be extravagant, but he never really does that for no reason, for no purpose. So.
Yeah.
So I think this is just all a show.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear different people give their takes on the characters to Sarene since she's new to everyone. Because before they were just kind of scoffing at how he just spends his money so much, but now this guy's saying that he's actually a lot craftier than you'd assume from his outward appearance.
Mm-hmm. He's clever.
And then later when we get implication of why, I thought that was really interesting.
All right, so then Eshin, she calls Sarene over to Aanden to talk about fencing. Sarene once again acts simple-minded in front of Aanden, and eventually he gives in and allows her and the women to fence. A courier comes in.
Yeah.
A courier comes in to tell Aanden something. Sarene tries to listen in, but Hrathen makes a point about Aanden getting news in front of the simple-minded person, which convinces Aanden to leave. When Aanden returns later, he was clearly upset by whatever news he heard. Pretty much at that point, Hrathen is using Sarene's act of being simple-minded against her.
Yeah, he gave her a look like, unknowingly. I can see this scene in a movie too.
Yeah. It'd be very corny, but I can see it too.
Yeah.
Sarene, she has Shuden bring her around to the party, meet, everybody possible and everything, tries to get her, feelers out to all the people. And later that night, she returns to the palace and she learns that some people had broken into the palace during the night.
Yeah, I wonder who they were.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else in this chapter that you two wanted to discuss or bring up?
When her and her date said when she was acting all simple-minded, I think it was him, but one of them said how it's a lot easier to just be yourself when you're being all deceptive, because then you don't gotta figure out which lie is the true lie and stuff like that. Another instance of Sarene, being all crafty and cunning, but having things pointed out to her that she hadn't thought of before, humbling her a little bit, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, she's smart, but she's not as experienced in all this stuff as some people.
It seems like the people she's used to dealing with probably aren't as deceptive and clever as some of the people she's dealing with here, because she seems to have jumped into a frickin' viper nest or whatever the saying is,
Hmm. I wonder if she's going to stop doing that at some point. Like, just be like, yep, I'm not stupid. I actually know all this stuff that's happening, like talk straight to Aanden. I wonder if that'll happen.
I don't know if he'd like that.
Yeah, well, his time will be over at that point.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yep, and this chapter really felt like it just builds on a lot more, and you are really starting to feel the Hrathen versus Sarene battle
Oh
that's
yeah.
going on. 'Cause before you got a little bit of it here and there, but now she's seen him there, and she's getting upset that he has a weak on her. He's getting Aanden to leave, so that way she can't hear whatever news Aiden's hearing. You're just getting much more directly back and forth.
The news
Yeah.
that from later stuff, I assume he very likely knows exactly what it is,
Yeah.
which is creepy.
I can't believe it. This rivalry really reminds me of like high school rivalry for like
Who's going to be
class
class president?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Because he's like,
No.
Hrathen. It's like, Sarene, like, how are you? Like,
Oh, God.
that's kind of the relationship. I like Shuden being like, wow, you're acting like he's like
Oh, yeah.
your nemesis or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Which is all surprising because a lot of people don't seem to understand the threat him being here poses to them and their power and stuff. But she seems incredibly aware of just how big of a deal it is that he's doing stuff here. Like all these people doing all these bad things, and she immediately is like, "No, that guy's the one to pay attention to."
Hmm. I wanted to say too that I liked seeing a bit of the city and the world in the social class or their party was fun
Well, seeing
and
how
little
obscenely wealthy this party is, it was so interesting when you see how when you hear about how shitty everything else is for everyone.
yeah. But I liked seeing like the balls of light that they lit the pathway up
Mm-hmm.
with. That's kind of interesting because it's kind of like glow rocks what it was, but it makes me wonder if there's other kind of magic stuff in the land. Like what kind of they have weird stuff in the world, Like where did that come from?
All right, so we'll go on to chapter 15 now. So chapter 15 starts with Hrathen walking atop the walls of Elantris and looking down on the city. And he knows that the Elantrians are not devils and that they really should be pitied, but he feels like making them the enemies would be the easiest and most harmless way to unify Erelon underneath Shu Dureth.
More of his
This,
interesting justifications of him doing bad stuff, justifying that it's either them or it's everyone in the city being killed.
by doing it this way, this would mean to much less bloodshed than in Duladel, and that the only ones to suffer would be the Elantrians.
This is probably one of my favorite parts that happens when he's up on the wall and he's like, "Dream on, Elantris," and he's saying that stuff out loud, and the guard nearby is like, "Did you say something, my lord?" And he's like, "Oh no, I was just talking to myself." And is he like a cartoon villain, like the leader in that one Hulk episode? Like just
Yeah.
starts monologuing to himself out loud. That just made me laugh.
So what was it where somebody's doing a monologue and they're like, "Who are you talking to?" And he's like, "I'm talking to you. Aren't you writing this down?"
That-
What was that?
That's the
Shit?
leader. The leader in
No,
the Hulk
no, that
show.
wasn't the leader. That was just him talking for like 10 minutes. And then he realizes Gargoyle isn't there. Or no. What it is he calls in Gargoyle. We thought he was talking to Gargoyle, but he wasn't even. He was just talking to himself. That was the leader thing. The thing I was referencing was from a comedy. I don't remember what it was.
If anyone knows, let us know in the comments.
Oh, it was Futurama. Sorry. It was Zap Brannigan and Kiff.
Oh, yep.
And he's like, "Captain's log, blah, blah, blah. Who are you talking to, sir?" "You, Kiff. Aren't you writing this down?"
Yeah,
Yeah, that was it.
that's it. Oh.
Yeah, that was quite a diversion, but glad I remembered it.
Yeah. Well, it made me
Shita,
laugh to read that part.
you just compared Hrathen to Zap Brannigan, Shita.
I think that's sapped. Yeah.
All right. Right, so Zap Brannigan, he's on the wall of Elantris, and he
No.
feels like the the peasants of Erelon are stressed so far already that if they were given the chance, they'd rise up and slaughter the noble class. This makes him nervous because he knows that if that winds up happening, then he's going to wind up using it to his advantage anyways.
That was scary. Yeah. That he knows
Hrathen
himself that well.
Hrathen would ride out any destruction if it led to making everyone in the country followers of Dorethi.
Mm-hmm. See, this is why he's such an interesting character. He's clearly, an antagonist to the story, but he's aware of that. But he doesn't hold himself accountable for what he's doing because he's just doing his, religious duty, basically. It makes him so fascinating to listen to his thoughts.
About why people use religion to justify their actions?
Yeah, but he doesn't seem like somebody who's like filled with anger and hate who would want to do that stuff and just finds the excuse, He seems like he's actually a pretty mellow person. He just likes everything to be nice and orderly, But his duty demands that he does these horrible things, and he's clever enough and calculating enough that he can take advantage of this stuff and do horrible, horrible things, but it's in the name of his god and his what is it, a Wyrn? Was that the name? His Pope, basically. So he's
Wyrn.
really, really interesting to me because of that Wyrn, yeah.
I think Wyrn is such a nerdy sounding name, though.
Well, don't let them hear you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fascinating because he wavers in between, like, you feel for him, you empathize with him, and you're like, Jesus, no, get out of here. You're a bad guy. Like, between sentences, basically. It's really interesting.
Hrathen meets up with Telrii up on the wall, and Telrii is having second thoughts about working with Hrathen. Telrii had heard that Hrathen was the Yorn that was involved in Duladel, that the entire Republican class that ruled Duladel was slaughtered in the revolution that took place there. And Hrathen, he points out...
When he realizes, oh, that's why he's having second thoughts, he's just scared for his status.
And Hrathen points out that Fjorden could use the armies of the nations it has taken over to take over Erelon if it wanted to. And so instead, he's coming here and he's trying to do it in a more peaceful way.
Yeah, when they describe how strong they are, it was pretty scary too.
Yeah, when he makes sure he knows the position that he's in right now and that he really doesn't have a choice here.
Mm-hmm.
And because Wyrn is considered the prophet, the top of their religion.
Mm-hmm.
And now since all the countries they're taking over are being converted to that religion, he just needs to call a holy war and they'll all join in.
Mm-hmm.
Then Hrathen thinks about how a single monastery could take over since its monks have been trained in war, assassination, other arts for centuries. Hrathen even looks at his arm, which bore marks from his time at the Dakor monastery, and he shivered at the thought of if those monks gaining access to Erelon.
You that freaking super ninja monks. Didn't know that was gonna be a thing.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
But now I want to see him fight Raoden.
I like the idea that they don't have the standing army, so people don't think about it. But people in the know are like they can call all the armies together, like you said. But he is in the real know is like, no, we don't even need that. You have no idea how scary we can be.
They secretly trained those monks in the monastery, to sabotage and assassin and stuff.
Yeah, I also want to see these monks. They sound horrifying.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, Sarene seems to be the only one that really knows the true power of it, because in the past she was thinking about the priests and them being able to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so Telrii decides to stay with Hrathen, and he gets Hrathen to outright state that Telrii will be king, and this is all said and done. Telrii states that he knows that Sarene is opposed to Hrathen, but Hrathen tells him not to worry about Sarene. Hrathen is bothered by this, though, since he has not done anything overt to make her want to oppose him, yet she still is opposing him. Because to Hrathen, he should be her greatest ally, since her people will be converted either by his humane urgings, or they will be crushed by the Fjordell armies.
That part's so funny, because you really see how he thinks. He doesn't really seem to understand that most people would want to choose the third option of just fuck you.
We don't want to do your religion. Like,
Yeah,
But
he
like to
feels
him,
like
it's already a foregone conclusion, you know.
mhm,
And she
it's
says
funny.
later a bit how she might think death would be preferable, you know, to bowing to them.
Hrathen, he feels like Sarene loathes him irrationally because she knows that her religion is inferior to his.
He's kind of messed up. I wonder, like, what kind of brainwashing he went through.
Well, he liked the religion. He just thought it made sense, remember? Like he took to it so quickly. So to
Yeah,
him,
I
it
know
just
that part,
makes
but
sense. Everything else is just crazy gobbledygook.
And so Hrathen tells Telrii to start paying his men double and to have those men spend time with their former comrades on the Elantris City Guard. Because he wants it to, wants them to let it be known that Telrii is a man who rewards those that give him allegiance. And Hrathen, of course, will be the one to provide the funds to Telrii in order to be able to
Oh,
pay these men double.
only
look how
after
cheap
Telrii
Telrii
asks.
is. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, after Telrei's like,
you'll
"You'll
do it,
provide
right?
this, correct?" Yeah, that taught us a lot about his sensibilities.
Yeah, it's like this pretty much the richest man in the town, and he's gonna skimp out on that.
And I think Hrathen outright rolled his eyes, right, when he said,
Yeah,
"Of
he
course,"
did.
which
Hmm.
surprised me.
And so Hrathen he leaves, goes down the wall, and as he is leaving, he notices that two people were led back into Elantris. And he has been paying the city guard captain since he had arrived in the city, and he knows that that man will soon be his. So he
Yeah.
tells the captain that the next time he captures an Elantrian, give them to Hrathen first, so that way he can study them.
Oh, I cannot wait to see that. That sounds like it's going to be so interesting.
So creepy.
I want to see him talk to him, cut him open, do everything. I'm so curious.
That's
Yeah,
messed up.
you would. It's like was
I'm just so curious when you have a thing like that that's all magic, you know, and everyone just takes it for granted. When you get somebody more logic or science minded to be like, how does this work? And start picking it apart like that with a scientist's brain. I don't know that any of that'll happen, but I would love to see that explored. The limits of like,
Hrathen's
yeah, he's not like
Hrathen
that, but you don't know. He might be curious.
is not Qyburn.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to know if these are going to be your scapegoats, how they work? Because people know
Oh,
almost
I
nothing about
would,
them.
yeah.
You know, when you learn that you can cut them up and they're not going to die, that would be kind of messed up to really see the limits of that, you know?
Yeah.
But even
yeah,
just talking to one seems interesting. What was that?
I did feel in this chapter Hrathen felt a lot more villainous than in past chapters.
Hmm.
Because in the past, you easily saw him, thinking, all right, yep, that's decent. But in this one, with him thinking, oh yeah, we'll kill the Elantrians. That'll be the best for things.
Uh,
Yeah, if something bad happens, I'll take advantage. Yeah, I want somebody to
yeah.
be able to study them. Well, he still has his justifications. It just feels a lot more, villainous than his
Hmm.
actions in the past.
I'm
Really?
saying from
I
moment to
also
oh shit.
I thought he explained all his thoughts and things really well in his head. He really
Hmm.
believes he's the hero. Like he
Yeah.
was like, I suffered when we took over that one country, Dula
Oh
Del.
yeah, I liked hearing about that, about how
He
much
was
that
like,
hurt him, and he's just does not want to let that happen again, you know?
mm-hmm. He's like, yep, I have to carry that burden, but that whole nation is saved, so
Oh,
you know.
yeah, the if a soul like if somebody must carry that burden, I'm willing to do it for the cause, you know. Like he's noble for doing those horrible things and feeling the agony of it so someone else doesn't have to, you know. That was
Hmm.
interesting. That reminded me a
Yeah.
lot of how Black Adam justifies himself, you know. If a soul
Hmm.
must be damned, let it be mine for the greater good. And you know how that turns out, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I feel like with Hrathen, from like moment to moment, he seems like a good guy, an anti-hero, and a straight up villain, you know, and then a straight up psychopath. Like he wavers between all of them. I cannot get a beat on the guy.
All right. Anything else from this chapter you wanted to go over?
Yeah, Sheta, you brought up the coolest part, the his feelings
I don't
about
know.
how messed up that last city got.
Yeah, that'll be my quote that I like, but
Oh,
I
okay.
really liked
Okay.
hearing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
why I
forgot.
thought
Yeah.
I felt sorry for him.
Yeah. You feel sorry for him, but like you wouldn't feel that way if you were the people in that city,
No.
Yeah, this chapter is so interesting because on the surface it was just he stands on a wall and talks to some rich whiny guy, but you learn so much about the character and the world just in this pretty short chapter.
All right, so on to chapter 16. So Raoden, it starts out with him looking at Aanden, his Seon, and he's thinking about how he felt bad for the Seons when he was younger, and he tried to free his Seon. However, Aanden let him know that it was free and that it wanted to serve Raoden.
So they're like house elves,
I thought it was so cute.
that whole conversation.
Like young little Raoden being like, "You're a slave. I don't like that." Like
Yeah.
learning about it for the first time, and he's like, "Oh no, my Seon's like that," like
Yeah. That also shows a lot about him, his trajectory to where he is now. I'm so
Yeah.
curious if he's raised by Raoden, why he was having these thoughts as a little kid, why he was such a thoughtful, empathetic little kid,
I think he was raised
sure.
by Serene's uncle mostly, or
Maybe.
someone like that.
And I bet
Well, we
his
don't really-
father tried. Yeah, we don't
we
know
don't really-
yet. Yeah.
Well, we don't really know much about his mother besides the fact that she died.
Oh yeah, duh, a mother, of course.
Yep, that's true. That Ishin's not his real mom. Okay.
But I bet his father tried to stamp that stuff out of him when he was younger.
Yep, and Raoden, while looking at Aanden, he feels like he knows what is wrong with Aanden, because the Aeon inside of Aanden is incomplete, because now it has a lot of breaks, because it looks like it has similar splotches to like the Elantrians.
Mm. So theoretically, if he could learn the magic, maybe he could fix them. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that would be great.
Be useful, I'm sure.
Maybe they just need to wash him.
Just need to wash him? Wouldn't that
Yeah.
make the interruptions in the markings worse?
Well, maybe it's dirt or something. Like slime
Oh, okay.
How do you wash a ball of light?
with magic water.
Yeah, I can't beat magic water.
All right, so Galadin asks
No.
Raoden what he misses most from the outside world. And Galadin says that, he himself misses his house, since he had built it all completely on his own. And Raoden says that he misses letters that he had gotten from Sarene.
Oh.
The two of them had exchanged letters over the past year, and after Sarene proposed 5 years ago, they also began talking via Seon. Whenever Raoden was feeling troubled or down about how things in his country were going, he received a letter and it brightened his day. He felt that even though their marriage was technically just a political union, Raoden was still excited for it.
Can't
Cute.
believe. Yeah. If they would have met, they would have loved each other so much.
I know. That's such a nice, they were meant to be.
It seems that way.
They have to meet. They have to meet.
Hey, you don't know.
Yes. If they don't meet, I'm going to get really mad.
What if they meet and then it's just an awkward silence and they realize they don't like each other and then they move on?
That's okay. I'll have some closure about it.
And what if one of them dies before Sheta?
Yeah, no, I will be pissed.
Yeah.
I will.
You'll be pissed?
I'll quit.
You'll quit? Oh no.
Sheta, you keep saying you want them to meet so badly, but Serene's already going to have like 6 suitors, according to you.
Yeah, but when she meets Raoden, then she'll drop them all.
What about Hrathen?
Him especially. He had his
Him
chance.
especially. He had his
Oh.
chance. What in... Okay, I'm not going to inquire any further on what the hell that means.
So while talking with Galadin, Raoden mentions the fall of Duladel, and it shocks Galadin. He hadn't heard that the Dula Republic had fallen. He says that Galadin says the Republic was strong and the people believed in it. Raoden doesn't know what happened to cause it to fall, but the Republicans were slaughtered, and now there's a king installed in Duladel. And that the Jesker religion is gone, and Shu Dareth is now the official religion of Duladel.
That was sad because Galadin told him he also kind of lied about when he got into Elantris because he thought that maybe he would have heard of that, but he'd been in here so long that he didn't know that happened.
Makes you wonder just how much pain that guy's in.
No.
Yeah, so Raoden goes back to their chapel, and he looks at it in wonder because it has now been completely cleaned by Kahar. It looks brilliant from all the light and the marble inside. And there are sculptures all around that they didn't know were there before because the sludge just covered it all and couldn't see them. Raoden is going to have Kahar begin cleaning the paving stones and the other buildings in the surrounding area. And Raoden will give him more help to clean up because they've been getting more followers coming in and joining them.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, he says that once they stop living in filth, they'll start feeling like humans again.
Oh, Sheta, no, you took my quote.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, I've got another one. But I really liked that idea, or him saying that, because that's very true.
Yeah, sorry. I just really like that part. I just think the idea of having someone be in charge of cleaning is so nice. Right?
Yeah, somebody who's good at it and knows how to actually do it too, you know?
Yeah, and he had a lot of pride in how nice it looked after.
Mm-hmm. But I can imagine the difference in just standing in that sludge and slime. It sounds so disheartening. Walking in and seeing this nice, glorious, like, building, basically, it would feel completely different, you know? So
Yeah.
that code, I think, is one of the most interesting ones in there.
I'm sorry.
I've certainly lived in filth and lived in not filth, and I can tell you which one makes me more productive.
Yeah, when you live in filth, you just want to give up already.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I am worried about how damaged your hands would be after scrubbing stuff and cleaning for so much, you know?
Well, I'm sure he's a professional. He knows what he's doing, you know? If you do
I
that
hope
all day
so.
for a living, I'm sure you know the way to do it so you don't fuck yourself up too much, you know?
Oh, I've cleaned for a week, for a day, and like your back hurts, your
Yeah,
like
but you're not a professional
hands hurt.
cleaner, you know? Go ask somebody who, like, cleans hotels all day, every day. I'm sure they have a whole process they do, you know?
Yeah, but here, I think he had a rag, and that's it. So I'm like, how is he
Yeah, but you're
able
just
to clean?
moving slime.
Because yeah, sure, if you have like all the tools, like a Swiffer, like a nice mop, it would be nice and easy. But if you got like a rag and that's it, and not even water,
Oh,
that would be really
no,
hard.
he's scooping it up with his hand and throwing it outside. That's what he's doing for sure. Just all day, and then collecting some water to scrub the rest off. Also, I'm gonna guess when they say clean, they mean clean by their standards, not our standards.
Well, I
Well,
just
now
hope
They
he.
said there was
Yeah.
they couldn't even see statues. They were still so filthy in there, you know.
So now, since the marble is clean, Raoden's able to see his reflection for the first time since he came into Elantris 2 weeks
Mhm.
ago. He is bald, and he's bald, and he also has, the Elantrian blotches on his skin. And the non-blotch part of
No.
his skin is now gray.
Yeah.
And his skin is getting wrinkled, and his eyes are sunken in. Even
Well,
Raoden barely recognizes himself.
Sheta, do they still look like hot goth nightclub guys to you?
No, not after this more in-depth description.
This is what we
But
were
I don't
trying
know.
to tell you last time. They're all gross and messed up looking. You just wouldn't believe it.
Well, I'm not gonna say this. Never mind.
Oh God, what is it?
Nothing.
You can say it and use your inspiration point to unsay it.
Okay, I will just say that like, heroin chic is in vogue again. Is all I'm saying.
Is that it? Oh goodness, no.
It's just very controversial to say, and I don't believe that actually. So
I don't know that that's as controversial as you're worried. Sheta. I thought you were going to say something way worse.
oh no, just that.
So you're saying that do you still think Karada looks like Charlize Theron?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes, like if you have a really good bone structure, your cheekbones just become more pronounced, and you look more handsome and more beautiful. Because in Harry Potter, after Voldemort like starts making Horcruxes and doing a lot of dark stuff, he gets even more handsome with the bags under his eyes and his cheekbones pronounced. You know, so maybe that's what's happening.
And his snake slit nose, right, Sheta?
That's later. That's later.
That's later.
Though he could still make it work.
Uh-huh.
All right, so now Raoden talks to Galadin about planting the corn. Galadin doesn't believe that it will work because he doesn't think the people will give the corn time to grow. Raoden says that it will work. When Raoden brings up planting more corn next year, Galladin says that it doesn't matter because the Elantrians won't last until next year. Raoden's response is that Elantris will change.
I like that too. When he's like, "We'll be dead. It doesn't matter." Or then Raoden's like, "Well, then whoever comes after us will get it." It's just so hopeful.
Yeah.
Very optimistic.
One thing it just made me think of right now is with people lasting 6 months to a year, 2 years being a long time for them. How many generations of people have gone into Elantris and just gone hoed? It's been 10
I'm
years.
really wondering that too. Yeah. How many people out there are just mumbling on the streets or smashed into the ground, because they've got this whole society and it seemed like it's the institution of Elantris, but it hasn't been actually up that long. So that's so weird to think about. Like the 3 different gangs, they're not that old relatively.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder what they were before that.
Yeah, how was Elantris being run 5 years ago?
Yeah.
It's like none of the people there walking and talking now were there 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
All right, so then Dash, who is Karada's second in command, he's leaving to go attack Aanden because one of his scouts had heard that Aanden was planning to attack Karada's palace that night. Raoden and Karada try to talk him out of it, but Dash doesn't listen and he goes to leave. Raoden, Galladin, and Karada go a different route to try and stop him because they feel like they can't afford to lose anybody on either their side or Aanden's side. So Raoden, Galladin, and Karada get to a building that leads into the university, which is Aanden's place. Raoden notices that the roof is ready to collapse and there are fresh cuts in the wood and realizes that it is a trap that Aanden set. When Dash arrives, Raoden shouts to stop, but some of Dash's men already make their way inside the building. Aanden comes out from behind rubble and swings an axe to break down the roof, but Raoden shouts out, his real name, Teon, and gets him to pause his swing, axe mid-swing. Raoden walks out and he begins to clean off a table that's in the middle of the room while talking about how Teon had just been acting insane. He brings up how Elantris was once a city of beauty, art, and sculpture. And then he shows off the cleaned off table and Teon sees it and it has intricate carvings on it and it finally gets him to put down the axe.
I really like the tactic he used with him. Because when you're walking up to transform... What's that?
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, you.
Just calling him by his real name to get him to stop at first.
Yeah. And then playing on how much he knows he's passionate about sculpture and all that stuff.
Yep, and Raoden tells Teon that he has an opportunity nobody else in the world has. He can study the sculptures in Elantris all on his own. And he tells everyone else that they are free. They don't need to make money or get land or fight for food because their bodies don't need it. And that weapons are for those on the outside world and they cannot afford to lose a single person.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. Like, what, you don't need to eat or sleep or do anything? You can just enjoy art and the good things,
The speech was really good. I really liked it. Usually when they do speeches and things to persuade people, I call bullshit. But this one I was like, he's making a very good point that most people probably have not thought of. That they don't need to do any of the petty shit that you need to do to feed yourself normally, if you can just ignore it enough.
Mm-hmm.
That they're free for the price of hunger,
So Teon says that he will join with Raoden. Teon's men are upset and they said they followed Aanden, but Teon says that Aanden was a fool. He tells his men to listen to Raoden. Raoden asks them to give up their anger and to let him give them hope instead. Dash and his men, they leave. Raoden asks Teon to come with him because he says there's a building that he wants to show him.
Oh, he's gonna love that building.
Yep, and in this, reading Brandon Sanderson, he had said that, in a way, the 3 gangs that Raoden has to defeat represent 3 things that the Elantrians themselves need to overcome. The first is their solitude, represented by Karada's exclusionary attitude. The second is self-pity, represented by Teon's indulgent madness. The final is their pain, represented by the wild men of Sheor. The way, therefore, to defeat Teon was to turn his attention outside of himself. Self-pity melts when confronted with larger issues, such as the beauty and wonder of Elantris itself.
I called that they were going to defeat him by making him decide to stop being crazy because he saw purpose again.
So that's
I
that
just didn't think
chapter.
it would happen so quick. Because this is two
anything-
chapters in a row for him that he's won over 2 gangs, right?
One
So
gang
assumedly
after
the
another
next
one.
chapter, yeah. Assumedly the next he'll try to do the other one. I don't think that one's going to be as easy though.
I would just say, if we don't hurt each other, we won't be hurt. Like,
Yeah,
we
I
won't
don't
have
think that's going to
injuries.
win them over. I think they want to hurt people. I think they're going to be the types who just want to express their internal pain on others.
Just insert a Michael Caine Batman quote.
Basically, some men just want to watch the world burn.
Right. Anything else in this chapter that you feel like we missed or you want to go over?
Just, I think it would really, really suck to have that trap be sprung and be buried in rubble for the rest of time.
Yeah, that was scary. So he's braver than you'd expect. 'Cause he really went out there when he just like walked out. I think that he kind of shocked everyone too, because you're like, only a crazy person would like walk out and put everything on the line, like hoping that they'll listen. Like he stopped mid swing, you know?
Yeah. I also like he won him over by believing in his humanity, which shows his hope he has, you know. And also I keep thinking these gangs are so big and bad, but like I forget it's only been like not very long for them, you know. And they're just doing the best they can in this little shithole that they're in, you know. So when a guy comes in making sense, you know, that is very appealing.
Yeah. Any option.
Yeah, because nobody does this. Everyone walks in, they get killed, they join up with somebody, or they hide. That's all people do. That's all most people would do. So it really shows how why he's the like lead guy of the book, as opposed to Telrii being the main character.
Well,
You wouldn't read that?
I could. I mean, I've read stories with one of the characters being a character like that, but
what if it's the primary protagonist of the story who you're supposed to be rooting for?
What is the story there?
It would
Why
be
would
like
it be like that?
Breaking Bad, House of Cards type story, you know, except with a guy who's not that smart and is letting other people do it for him.
That would be terrible.
House of Cards after season 2.5, basically.
Ooh.
So, it could turn out to be, it depends on the writer. It could be good.
Oh, yeah, anything can be great. I'd actually be really interested in that story because it'd be a character you never, ever see be the protagonist. Somebody so unlikable. It would just be super hard to write in a way that would be like, make the reader not want to throw it in the garbage in anger and disgust.
Stuck up rich person being the good guy.
Yeah, who's not even like, at least if he's clever or ambitious in those ways, you could read it, but he's just having Hrathen come in and make him this offer, and he just wants money. He's not that compelling so far.
You might just make the most unlikable character ever.
Oh, no way. There's some unlikable frickin' characters out there. I mean, you remember that guy from Dark Tower, Sheta? You remember the guy from Dark Tower who got off on dropping bricks on like non-white people or whatever?
I didn't mean like an evil person. I meant like an annoying protagonist. Like just seeing him have so much screen time.
Character. I see.
Yeah, I'm like, why? This is not
Sheta, you obviously
anything.
haven't watched far enough in Arrow.
Oh gosh.
Oliver
I watched
Queen stops
enough.
being the main character, and Felicity becomes the main character.
Yep.
Arrow becomes Felicity and Friends.
Yeah, no thanks.
That may very well be the most unlikable character I can think of off the top of my head for a protagonist.
Mm-hmm. That's how you kill a show.
I'm surprised they didn't do a Felicity spin-off show.
They were going to do a spin-off about Oliver's daughter in the future with Felicity as a character in it, but it didn't get picked up somehow.
That was some of the most boring stuff in season 6.
Well, that's why.
Oh, excuse me.
Was it season? No, it was season 6.
Oh, whichever. I have trouble keeping track.
Okay, so we'll move on to chapter 17. So Sarene and the embroidery circle, they've met up in order to begin their fencing practice. And the women in the circle clearly have no idea what to do and have shown up in just normal dresses. Luko, KZ, and Daorn have also arrived to watch because they figured it was going to be very entertaining. All right, Sarene shows the women what to do, and then she has them practice their thrusts, but they are not good at it. And Sarene notes that while she herself is a good fencer, she has never tried to actually teach anybody before.
Yeah, I think just from what I know about her, I figured she would be a pretty bad teacher.
This scene, in all honesty, if they did do like a live action show of it, this fencing scene I think just would, if done right, would just be hilarious.
Yeah, and if done the way I assume they would, I have to say it would be the most unbearable scene of all time. If you actually filmed it where all the women were stumbling over like they were because they've never fenced before, that would be so entertaining to watch. And she's like, what the hell? Oh, holding them in positions she didn't think possible, all that stuff. But it would you know how it would go. It would not be good.
All right, so then Eondel and Shuden have arrived to the fencing practice. Eondel goes around the women and helps correct their hold on the sword and their posture. Sarene appreciates this, but she's also a bit jealous that he's doing a good job of teaching. And she decides, for fun, she challenges Eondel to a duel and doesn't really give him a choice to say no. They have a duel, they go around the room fighting and everything, pretty theatrical fight. Kind of makes me think, Princess Bride sort of thing. And eventually Eondel lets Sarene wins. And Sarene feels ashamed of this when she realizes that she put Eondel into a situation where he had to lose because he couldn't make her look bad in front of the women that she's trying to teach and lead.
Yeah, I like when she thinks about how he's different from her and how he's willing to sacrifice everything, like so much for this stuff, sacrifice his pride and stuff like that, and she wonders about if she's willing to sacrifice as much for what needs to be done.
The women in the circle, they notice that, while Sarene and Eondel were having their duel, that Shuden has begun doing what is pretty much like a kata called Cheishan. And it's it's something that's from Jindo. And the women from the circle are just simply mesmerized by watching Shuden do this.
This part was so funny, though. I just imagine this shirtless guy slowly doing like a Tai Chi type form, and then all the girls are just oogling him.
I just think of the one scene from Roadhouse.
That's what I was just thinking of, was Roadhouse.
I thought it was funny that they made fun of him for it. Yeah, next time you complain about women bothering you or wanting to hook up with you, we just remind you that you did this.
Yep, and so then Sarene, she breaks up the women's stares at Shuden, and she has them continue their practices. And so later on, Sarene heads to a Karathi chapel, and she talks to the priest, Omen. She asks him about what a widow's trial is. And he tells her that it is a custom where a widow performs some favor for the country as a way to show how much they loved their husband. The more the love and the loftier their position, the more extravagant their trial. And it is meant to bring humility to the exalted. Sarene says that she doesn't have money and doesn't know how to approach Aanden for a stipend, but Omen points out that she has inherited Raoden's estate, which is not any less than a duke's.
Another instance of her not realizing just how much she has here, and that it would be an embarrassment to Raoden if his son or daughter-in-law was not insanely rich, so he can't take it away, which I was wondering about.
In the middle of that whole explanation of when he was talking about a widow's trial, he did branch off and start talking about the Elantrians. And the Karathi, they didn't hate the Elantrians like the Derethi do, and Omen even had some friends amongst the Elantrians. He says that everything is by Domai's will, and that sometimes Domai will send disasters or diseases out in order for things to progress. Sometimes we must fall, sometimes we must rise, some must be hurt, while others have fortune, for that is the only way to rely on others. And Omen fears that Hrathen's pronouncements that the Elantrians are the Svarkis will only bring hate. Sarene believes that this is exactly what Hrathen wants.
Man, I'm just not allowed to pick a quote, huh? We're going to find another one now. Because I thought his speech about people always ask, if God loves, why do people suffer? And I thought that was a very good explanation for why you would see it that way. It's the only way for us to learn to rely on each other.
Sarene, she leaves the chapel, and when she's outside the chapel, she talks to Ash. And Ash didn't go inside the Karathi chapels anymore ever since he was thrown out of one by Sinalon, the patriarch of Shu Korath. Ash tells Sarene that he has seen Hrathen walk in the walls of Elantris many nights, that he seems friendly with the Elantris city guard. Sarene feels that since Hrathen wants to make people hate Elantrians, then it's her job to see that the opposite happens.
You know what she's gonna do?
What's that?
I don't want to say, in case it comes true.
That's the whole podcast. You're supposed to. Then if it comes true, people will be like, wow, you're so smart. And when you're so off, they'll be like, wow, you're so stupid.
Well,
Yeah,
that's her goal.
So far, you get a
Well,
lot of theories that will never come true. You might as well
we
give
don't
yourself
know
some
that.
points here. Yeah. Let's hear it.
Well, she has to do something, and if she's trying to go against Hrathen, then she's gonna do something nice for the Elantrians.
Like a show of goodwill.
Yeah, she might give them a picnic or something.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I could see that, something similar to that happening. That's really interesting of an idea.
Yeah.
Like some aid, some charity stuff. Yeah, I wonder.
I said she was gonna do a feast for the people, but now she might do a feast for Elantris.
Oh God.
That might end badly, but
Yeah, I think it would end really badly.
So later on in a room, Sarene is talking to her father, Eventio, via Seon, and he mentions that he had put down another Jeskeri Mysteries cult. He tells Sarene that he is worried because the Fjordell ambassador and his entourage have left Teod, and this is after Fjorden tried so hard to keep the ambassador in the country. Sarene tells Eventio that the Yorn in K is Hrathen, and this worries him.
He's just like, oh crap.
Because Hrathen was the Yorn in Duladel, and that the revolution that had happened there killed over 10,000 people.
Unnecessary loss.
Like I said, there was the mention of the Jeskeri Mysteries cult. We've had that mentioned before, because
Yeah.
so far we've had like 5 different religions mentioned. The Jesker, which was Duladel and Galadan. The Jeskeri's Mysteries cult, which is like a branch of that. And there's Shu Kesig, Shu Korath, Shu Dareth. Just feel like, updating everyone on all the religions and how that's all going around. So then
refuse
Eventio...
to remember anything.
Yep, so Eventio, he wants Sarene to return to Teod, but she declines. And he says that there is no difference, but she tells him that his eyes were always blind. No man in Teod wanted to be with her, even if she was a princess. And now that her brother has a child, any man that would have married her knows that he won't be king it. So even that incentive is gone. No man in Teod wants her. No man from a country under Drethi control would marry her. And that the only man that would have married her was only doing it for political reasons. So at least in Erelon, she is a widow princess, and she doesn't have to worry about hurting her marriageability.
I really feel for Sarene. That's tough.
It's interesting to hear that she cares about that too, because she knows that people look upon her very differently with that in their minds.
When she was saying, she asked around like her friends and to be like, what do the guys think of me? Like, why don't they like me and stuff? It was so sad. Like, no one wanted to marry a woman that was smart or had like stuff to say. That it would be embarrassing and stuff.
I liked when she says by the time she realized that, all the men who would have married her and would have been cool with that were already married.
Yeah, that was sad too.
Like that there were men who don't care, but they found somebody real fast, Yeah,
those are the good ones.
I think the other interesting note in this whole thing is that you have a Raoden chapter where he's thinking about, Sarene. He's like, yeah, but, it was only going to be a marriage for political reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But he was still excited about it. Then Serene's chapter, she's thinking about Raoden. She's like, well, he was only going to marry me for political reasons, but she was still excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
Tragedy.
They have to meet.
Right. So then Eventio, he talks about how all his spies that he sends into Fjorden vanish very quickly now. And, Eventio, he wants to know, he sends people to try to figure out what all the monasteries specialize in. Because he knows what Wraithbor, that they train assassins, Fieldor, they train spies, and most of the other monasteries are just simple warriors. But he has heard such horrible things about Dakor Monastery, and he cannot fathom why anyone, even Derethi, would do such things. But he still can't figure out exactly 100% what the Dakor Monastery does. And Eventio,
it's going to be something fun. Sure, it's going to be something very fun and interesting when we finally learn.
And so Eventio feels that if Wyrn declares a holy war on Teod, then that will be the end of Teod. That they could not stand against the united might of the eastern countries. If it comes to that, then he feels like he will likely surrender. But as long as Arelon stands and there are two countries, then there is hope. But if Arelon falls, then Teod is finished. Eventio, he also mentions that Aanden's entire merchant fleet was sunk by pirates, and there were some remnants of Triok Crushthroat's fleet. Eventio's sources link the pirates with Fjorden, and Sarene believes that this is being done in order to take away Aeden's crown by removing his wealth. And this also explains why Telrii was throwing such an extravagant ball, to show that he has wealth when Aanden doesn't.
Yeah, we touched on that, but that was really interesting to get the answer for. That it was just something that simple for his reason for throwing that ball.
So,
and I love
Sarene,
seeing just how stupid Iodin's whole ruling system is, that if he just loses that money, then by his own logic, he will not be allowed to be in charge.
And so next, Sarene, she ends the conversation, and later that night when she's going to sleep, she just gets pretty melancholy, and she thinks about the loneliness of when she was in Teod. And she had established a quick wit and quick tongue early in life, and this set her apart from other women. And like you had said, she didn't realize that men did not want to be with her until it was too late. And she was mortified to learn how much she was mocked by the men in the court. And while she's thinking about this, her thoughts are interrupted by a noise. It's coming from the wall, but her room is at the end of the building, so she just figures it must be the building settling.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh yeah, that's just them leaving. But then I'm like, wait a minute, we already had that with her earlier.
All right, so that's that chapter. Anything else that you wanted to go over in the second Sarene chapter?
I thought we said everything.
All right, so that's everything in the chapter. So then we'll go through some questions and predictions and stuff from these. All right, so you have all the women in the court, fawning over Shuden. Will Shuden, will he get a significant other by the end of the book?
No.
I think so. Oh,
A feeling. I just think no.
Well, he said that he wasn't opposed to the idea. Like, he kind of liked the idea of getting married, but it's just that he has not found someone he could talk to and like a real person. Like, he didn't like how most of the women were kind of just like superficial and gossiped and stuff like that. I am going to predict that he and the daughter of the one lord are gonna get together. The one that had a crush on him already.
Ahan's daughter?
Yep.
What was her name? Tarina.
Yes. She's already interested too in kind of the more liberated women from Sarene's place so I think she's a little bit wanting to be a modern girl and stuff like that. Yep, that's the one.
What about Royal? Royal get a woman or like wife or something before the end of the book?
No.
Royal. I want him
I
to.
don't think anyone's gonna be happy.
Oh gosh, I just thought that he might get with the daughter, but no.
His friend / enemy's daughter.
Yes, that would be the biggest, fight. I don't know who would get the worst end of that.
It could unite the houses.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it would do that.
I think that
it would unite the houses at all.
The daughter is gonna get with either Shuden or Royal. That's the only other eligible maiden that's been mentioned. So besides Sarene, yeah, that's it.
All right. What is happening at the Dakor Monastery? Because you had Hrathen looking at marks that he bore in his arms from his time there. He shivered at the thoughts of them being allowed access to Erlon, and something that Eventio, he just could not fathom people doing that.
Probably some messed up thing with magic, because we already know that they're hypocrites using Seons. So
Yeah, I think it's something really dark and really messed up that we don't even have a precedent for yet.
Wild guess. What messed up thing are they doing?
Blood magic.
yeah, maybe they're eating Seons or something. I don't know.
Oh God, what the hell?
Yeah, that's like the only little bit of magic that is still around. I bet they're doing that. Something messed up. He looked at
They're
his arm
learning.
though,
Yeah, they're
so
learning the
maybe.
art of touching with the magics, the writing magics, and torturing the very souls of people. There's my wild guess.
What are you talking about?
That's my wild guess. That's what I was told to do,
Huh.
based on nothing.
No, I think maybe they are embedding Seons into their arms and stuff, and I don't know why though. Or maybe to help them fight and stuff. Yep, they're putting Seons on them so they can do magic and stuff like that.
Right.
Yep.
Before the end of the book, will Telrii become king?
I don't know.
I think so. I think things are going to go real south, and I think we'll get a bit of that.
I think it would be interesting to see, so I think it will.
Right. So follow up to that, how does Aanden get removed as being king? Will it be something where it's just Hrathen's plan works and he gets Telrii on there? Will Sarene and her group wind up removing Aanden, which then allows Telrii to get in there? What exactly will happen?
No, because Sarene says she's going to work with Aanden now, because enemy of my enemy. But I don't think Hrathen's plan is going to go as smoothly as possible. I think it's going to be a messier version of his plan, basically, where he's ordered to maybe make a move or do something, or he feels forced to.
Here's my guess. It's gonna happen where Aanden does get removed, but he takes Telrii down with him. And then the third richest person becomes royal, and then he gets to be king, actually.
And then he marries Sarene, so she becomes queen. Is that it, Sheta?
No, he marries his enemy's daughter, and then she becomes queen.
Or Telrii becomes king, learns Raoden's alive in the city of Elantris, and so they purge the whole city. There's my new guess. Because he would be the rightful heir, if that's even how it works in this frickin' world.
All right. So Raoden has gotten 2 gangs to join with him. Will he get Sheor's gang to join with him as well?
I think he will, but I don't think it's going to be clean to do it. I think they're going to have to fight, and it's going to be all messed up and bad. I think it may just get bad enough that he's able to get some of them over. I don't think he's going to get the leader over, though.
He managed to get 2 gangs to join him by chapter 16.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even halfway through the book. So how much longer will it take him to get the 3rd gang?
Halfway point.
Yeah. I think he might get it immediately, because now that he's got 2 gangs, that has to be confronted by that last gang.
For sure, they're going to have to do something about that. How do you think they're going to get him over, though, Shita?
Well, I think like most gangs, there's a leader who's like the one instigating most of the stuff. Once he either converts him or kills him, like that'll be it. So I think that actually that guy's gonna be a little more reasonable than he guessed. Because sometimes, like, I can just see him being a leader, like, that's like, do whatever you guys want and stuff, I'm protecting you, or you're in my gang, you do whatever you want. I just think that he has talked to everyone already and won them over, and he's gonna go 3 for 3.
So just so you know, if you said halfway point, that would be pretty much next week will be around the halfway point. And there'd only be
double that,
one. There'd only be 1 Raoden chapter.
I think it's going to take 2 chapters at least. Also, I don't expect that guy to be reasonable at all. I think he's going to be a psychopath. It's going to be like dealing with raiders in Borderlands. That's how I imagine it, Sheta.
I thought it would be more like dealing with Kaiser in Fallout New Vegas.
You can't deal with Kaiser.
You can though.
He's crazy. He actually thinks he's like the leader. He would rather die and take all of his people with him than give up power, you know.
Well, then I guess.
You can work with him, but he needs to be the leader, you know.
Well, the difference is that I think that the Elantrians are actually quite united in their suffering and stuff. And once Raoden brings that stuff up, like, yeah, it sucks in here, right? And it's like, yeah, it does. Like, they all have to agree on that.
If they're sensible, but you have to think of some people who, no matter how much sense you make, they will not follow that, you know. Some people are just like that, especially when they're all messed up, you know. They'd rather, as Joe said, watch the world burn, you know. Some people just like hurting people, you know. Don't care about nothing. That's my theory, at least. It sure will be nicer if it's yours.
Yeah. I just have this feeling that something about being an Elantrian really affects people in a like very mortal way, because like when you have to accept all these things about being an Elantrian now, I think it really gets to people in a very unique way. And I think he talks to them that way. Usually you'd think like, oh, I'll just die someday or something. You think, no, I'm not gonna die. Like, I'm just gonna live forever and it'll suck and stuff, you know? It's just a different mentality, and I think that affects them.
To use your example of Caesar's Legion, who I've always refused to call Kaiser out of disrespect, you know, you remember they're not even allowed to use medicine when they get hurt, you know. If they get infected on the battlefield, they have to keep going. It's a sign of weakness to show medicine, you know. So with that very example, you cannot reason with people like that. They're crazy, you know. Like I'd almost rather deal with the Raiders than that, personally.
Well, we won't know until we learn more about this character.
Oh, but you got me all pumped. Now I'm hoping it's like what you said, Sheta.
Because everyone we've met has not been like I expected. So
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Oh, no, it's not. Everyone's been exactly like how I expected, so I expect this next guy will be exactly like I expect.
Where exactly do you think this women's circle fencing thing's gonna go?
I think just her having a closer bond with the women, which is going to let her get more information and maybe get one of them to kind of like half join what she's trying to do.
an elite, like women's only secret service thing, like Charlie's Angels.
Oh, goodness, no.
Yeah, they're gonna be the only team that can fight when the war starts.
And they'll fight off the whole army, right? Like Dynasty Warriors, because they're just that skilled.
Yep. Well, no one else knows how to fight with a sword, so.
All right, now, what do you think Serene's gonna do for her widow's trial?
I think you have a pretty good theory, Sheta, mixing it with the Elantrian thing. I don't think that would be a good idea for her to do, but I think that's an interesting idea for the book.
Yeah, maybe a feast for the Elantrians that will either. Maybe she'll go in there. I don't know. Because it seems dangerous, so she won't go. But maybe they'll lower in like a big basket of feast food.
I think that'll be part of it. I think that's a good theory.
She'll give them shoes.
What? She doesn't know about that problem.
Well, not shoes, but like maybe like a nice thing like that, like shoes. If she realizes like something like they don't have that, she'll like, because she's so rich, she can do anything.
And Hrathen will get word of it and make sure to whip up the Atlantrians to be all violent to make them look real bad.
Well, he'll definitely have a picket sign or something too. Like,
a picket sign. No, I think he'll have
with the
people start
lanterns.
shooting at them to get them all pissed off, so they'll get all violent and just look so unlikable.
Yeah, he might just kick a civilian in there and have them be attacked by lanterns.
There you go.
Oh, he's the worst. He's not gonna win her like this.
He's doing what he needs to do, and he doesn't care about girls.
Well, I hope he is like, "What are you doing?" And he'll go down there with her, and he'll feel bad for what he's gonna do.
The romance of Elantris will win them over.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They're gonna bring out the kids, and that's gonna do it. This book is really wholesome in those parts, so I think they'll do something.
Unless it's just setting it up, you know, to be horrifying and horrible.
Nothing's really happened like that.
Yeah, that makes me more worried, you know. All these nice kids they're taking care of, yeah, they're suffering, but people are taking care of them. That's such a piece to like do something unforgivable for a character, you know.
Only because you're evil. You
No,
think evil.
the villains are evil. I'm just saying, I never feel safe until a book's over for characters in it.
You're saying it's like a nicely set up sandcastle that someone's just gonna go kick.
That's what I think about everything Raoden's doing, is that he's going to build it up just to have it knocked down, you know? Same with what
Yeah.
Sarene's trying to do. Because so far, everything's going too damn smoothly, you know?
Mm.
The other shoe's got to drop soon enough. I mean,
Don't say that. I'm
we're
scared.
about, yeah, we're about to hit the point in the book where things usually change in a story, you know? Or like the lowest point happens for everybody. So that'll be fun.
What do you think the noise was that Sarene had heard coming from the wall?
Mm. What was the timing here? She got back from the
This was late at night. She had already talked to her father. She was laying in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, and then, just feeling melancholy and sad, and then she hears a noise coming from the wall.
Just a rat, nothing purposeful. He just decided to put that in there for realism.
in the castle, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Would a rat be loud enough to? Because usually
It's not a rat. That's too stupid. If it was a rat, you just wouldn't write that part. You would just end it a little bit earlier. It would be such a waste of ink. And so far, this book has not meandered on random side things for no reason. I really have no guess. I think it's going to be something that makes perfect sense in the next chapter or the one after.
Right. It won't get as in depth as the earlier asking you, but with these last 2 weeks of getting some more chapters in, do either of you want to change what your prediction is for what you think's going to happen in the book?
What was my prediction? Everyone's going to die, I assume.
That was the one you said you wanted to happen, but you also said you didn't think was going to happen.
I don't want everyone to die.
The one
Everyone except Hrathen. That's who I think should die.
Yeah, because what was it? The one that you said you wanted to happen was that Hrathen would be forced to make a decision and then choose to put everyone to the sword. So Sarene dies. They ruin Elantris, so Raoden's pretty much dead, and Hrathen winds up taking over, and everything's pretty much burning.
Well, now after getting to know a bit more about the characters, I feel really bad about that. But it's still what I'm going to stand by.
Oh man, I can't remember exactly what you said. I remember. I'd have to listen to the episode again. I should have written it down.
Well, I think everything's going to go swimmingly on the plans inside and outside the wall. Somebody's going to get a sniff of it, or something outside is going to happen they can't predict. And Hrathen will reveal himself as more of the antagonist of the book by taking advantage of things going wrong, and everything's going to get absolutely horrible to a point that you will think things can't come back from for the Elantrians and the city, and change real quick, because with coups, things change real fast.
Yeah, with Hrathen, since like I said, we got a chapter where we got to see more in his mind, that we got to see some stuff that felt a little bit more villainous. By the end of the story, will he be just like the straight up villain that you're rooting against? You got to see it build up to that, or will he have a redemption story arc where he's working with the heroes?
Yeah, you go first, Sheta.
If he does, something drastic has to happen, to change his mind. I can't imagine what could happen to change his mind.
He'd have to learn that his religion is false. That would be the only way I could think of.
Yeah.
Or that it has too many logical flaws.
There's so many already.
No, he's really, really good at logicking them out.
Yeah, which way do you think it will go? Will the story make him be the villain at the end, or more like a hero at the end?
I think the story is going to make him the antagonist. I do kind of think that he's going to have a half redemptive change of heart, but nothing explicit. And then I think he's going to no, I think he's going to be the outright villain. And then he's going to fall due to his own villainy and see the error of his ways as he does. That's my guess. We all know she does.
No, you don't. Well, it would have to be him developing feelings for Sarene and being confused about, everything he's believed in all this time.
You know, I
Like,
could even see that just because she has to die for this stuff to happen. She won't abide by it, you know.
yeah, because she's so set against him. He'll want to save her for some reason he can't understand, and then he'll have to confront these things.
Oh God, you're gonna turn him into one of those
Yep.
where he's got her locked up in the little tower while everything else burns, and he just comes and strokes her hair occasionally, all creepy.
Ew, no. He's not gonna be a creep. He's gonna like do things like let her go and like they're fighting and then he sees her and she's like he lets her get away and stuff like that. And then he's gonna worry because like, he jeopardized his mission because of that.
I think Hrathen's gonna be a commentary on zealotry. That's all I could think, you know, because he's just written to be so of the church, of the body, you know.
Yeah, but why is he so fixated on Sarene?
Something
Because
about her. Well, yeah, because she's against him, you know. But something about her kind of touches him wrong, where he's like, see, I can see what you're saying. She could be the piece that makes him question his stuff because she doesn't fit in his orderly world, you know, and his thoughts about her don't. Because he does have a respect for her. And then I think we'll come to a point where he either like, you know, does choose against that and comes more heroic, or like in Inglorious Bastards where he just kills her, you know, and chooses the villain side, you know, even though he
Uh-huh.
has those feelings.
Yeah, yep. See?
But I still don't believe there's going to be a love thing, but you are starting to warm me up on the idea, Sheta. Or warm me down on it, I should say.
now with all the love stuff going on, will Dilaf fall in love with Sarene?
He's going to have some kind of weird like um oh no, I forgot his name. From Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Judge Frollo?
Yeah, weird Judge Frollo thing with Sarene. Where he's like doesn't know why he's thinking about her so much.
I think he's going to take notice of Hrathen talking about her too often, you know, and be like,
Yeah.
and then realize you're corrupted. And that's when he's going to try to kill Hrathen and take his own charismatic cult for himself. Because I still think Dilaf is going to be the real danger in everything. That might even be the
Yeah.
piece that makes Hrathen second guess the concept of how their religion is run, you know, through the ambition thing. But I don't know. That's getting out there.
Yeah, no. Dilaf only cares about one thing. He's a real what is it? Crazy religious person.
Mm. What you were saying before, I think he's the one who justifies all his hate and anger with religion, you know, because like he doesn't really talk about how much he believes, but he talks a lot about how much he hates non-believers, you know,
Yeah.
or he feels
Sadly,
so betrayed by the Atlantrians that this is his excuse, you know. Sadly, what?
sadly, in these chapters, there was no Dilaf for Sheta.
Yeah. I was sad about that. Like, what's Dilaf doing?
What is not a question that ever crossed my mind here.
Did you want him at the party with everyone else?
He would have been
I
kicked
did.
out.
I'm sad because that one kid replaced him as his +1. As Rathan's +1. You know, the one who converted.
Shada, Dilop would never be the plus one to anything. He's like the definition of a party pooper.
All right, so then we'll go into the favorite characters and quotes for these chapters. So, who was your favorite character from these chapters?
Mm.
Well, Hrathen. I don't think I said before that answer probably won't ever change unless somebody really scary comes in.
I really like Raoden in here, especially when we got to see young little Raoden wanting to free his Seon and stuff from slavery. It was just very cute.
Yeah.
I imagine it like a little One Piece up like flashback.
It wasn't sad
Every
enough for a
chapter.
One Piece flashback.
Yeah.
I
Well, that's
thought it
just the start of
was.
it. Once they introduce his mother in the flashback, then it'll get sad.
Oh no. Yep.
But
Yes,
every
it will.
chapter with Hrathen just makes me like him more and more as we learn more and more about him. I wonder if we'll ever get to the one where I'm like, oh, fuck this guy. If he falls in love and becomes the hero, then I might switch characters, should I?
Rathan?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think my favorite character in these chapters was probably Shuden. Like I said,
Oh
usually
yeah.
a lot of these chapters I wind up going with whatever character I think was the funniest, and I think him going to the party being like, "Yeah, man, I don't like all the attention from the women and everything. It gets kind of annoying. And later, in front of a bunch of women, he decides to start just doing a kata and just gets
Workout?
them all just staring at them. It's like, you know, if you didn't want them all over you, maybe you should not have gotten all sweaty and glistening right in front of all of them.
Yeah. I like him being like all acting like he didn't do anything. It's like he's interesting with that.
I think my favorite non-Hrathen character is the what was his name? The priest that Sarene went and visited, or something. Omen. Because I feel worried for him because he seems like exactly the first type of person to fall under the new religious empire when it shows up. And he seems
Oh,
like such a kindly, wise, little, memory problems, but wise. Like when he says that his duty there is to help guide people when she says she feels better after talking to him. I'm like, oh God, they're setting this guy up for something horrible.
and
And with all this anti-religious stuff, it's interesting to see what what the image of like a admirable religious guy is like.
I liked Royal as my
You
other
would.
person. I imagine he's played by Palpatine. That's how I imagine.
What the no. Creepy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, like a weird older diplomat type.
We'll be watching your career with great interest, Sarene, he says.
Yep.
Then you have to do like the more evil voice. It's just like,
Oh, he was really friendly there.
I know, but it just makes me think like, oh, just do the more emperor voice with it.
No.
Yeah,
that stuff.
yes, all the women want to get with me because my wife left 20 years ago.
women want to sleep with me. I've much thought of letting them into my bed. Yeah, that would have been a different character.
He marries.
If he
woman's
came
there.
over that way, they wouldn't be like, "Oh, you kindly old pervert." They'd be like, "Get the fuck away from me, you creep."
Yeah, he would scare them.
I'd make them work for it.
Okay, no, you're getting creepy. Oh my god. Yep, that's my fan casting.
Oh God, no!
I will assume the Phantom Menace version is much more likely.
More what you were imagining than the Revenge of the Sith or
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi version.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll go and let's get away from that and go into quotes.
Well, some people decided to take my quote and my backup quote. So I have to go to my backup quote, which is just a very simple pain lost its power when other things became more important.
That was my quote.
Are you serious?
Yep.
So you stole my quote, Joe stole my second, and I stole your first quote?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, that's a good part because it's the basically the idea of everything that's happening within Elantris,
Mm-hmm.
Should have let you go first, shit. It would have been hilarious.
Oh,
Have
I
you
know.
steal
I
my
should have.
third quote. Damn, I wish I would have done that now.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Well, I have another one.
Okay.
It's just Hrathen talking about how much he's taking on and how he's a hero in his mind. And it was it was better that one man suffer than an entire nation continue in heresy.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Oh, that's so great. That's a great one too.
to see him
Continue
thinking
in
that he's
heresy.
yeah. Yeah. He is really saving the world with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then I'll go. Mine's another during the Hrathen chapter. If he gave them too much of a chance, they'd rise up and slaughter the entire noble class. The possibility made him nervous, mostly because he knew that if it happened, he would make use of it. The logical Yorn within him would ride the destruction as if it were a fine stallion, using it to make Terethi followers out of an entire nation.
Yeah.
Just thinking about how he knows that, oh yeah, if some evil shit goes down, I will be completely for it.
Yeah. See, that kind of
That's
cold
dark.
logic is scary. And if the religion is that logically thinking, that is very scary. But then the emotion side is just as scary. So,
And as I was flipping through pages, I thought of one more, prediction, thing that I wanted to have you guys answer that I forgot to ask. Because Sarene was going to have Ash look into what could possibly have happened with her uncle and why he may or may not have been disinherited. What do you think happened to cause like a rift between him and her father?
He fucked his wife.
Whoa.
That's all it could be.
Like he's her real dad?
No, not that.
Oh, okay.
That was my thought the whole time, though. I don't think it's that, but that's what comes to mind.
That would kind of make sense because it didn't seem like that big of a deal, but also it was a big deal,
Mhm. That's why I
Like, it
thought of
wasn't-
that, yeah.
Like it's a personal thing, not a political thing.
hmm
Yeah.
Well, technically speaking, in a lot of kingdoms and stuff, if a queen would sleep with someone that's not the king, that would be considered treason.
Yeah, but
Mm.
this king seems like he's a lot more progressively minded, I should say.
Do we see her mother, or is her mother dead?
I don't think we know yet, or I don't remember.
I think they
For some
might have
reason, Yeah.
mentioned.
I thought that she had both parents. They were super loving, and they were like, "Come home, Sarene." I don't know. I might have made that up.
Well, do you have a prediction besides the fucking Sheta?
I thought maybe they just had something kind of boring, like the or Serene's father wanting to keep them separated or keep their country separated from the rest of the world, and then the brother, like, because he went out and explored so much, wanting to do more about being responsible in the world,
Just a violent disagreement?
Yeah, something like that, like being more involved in the state of the world instead of keeping things like safe in your own borders, that kind of thing. Yeah, just a disagreement of views.
All right, I went and looked it up. So Serene's mother is alive, but she is never given a name in the book.
Well, then, there goes my theory.
No, your theory could still work. She
They
doesn't
would
have
not
that.
do that and never give her a name. That would be very surprising to me. Unless it wasn't, I won't go there.
I think her father doesn't seem like he seems like a nice, normal person. I don't think any wife of his would cheat on him.
Unless she fell in love with Kine. That'd be the thing.
Yeah, Uncle Kai does seems really cool. Like, he seems like all cool and hip.
It's just going to be he stole one of his toys once when they were young and they've never spoken again.
So it's like a mountain hound scenario.
Yeah.
What happened there? A toy thing?
He stole a toy and then he burned him, remember?
Oh yeah,
He
yep.
didn't steal a toy. He played with a toy
Yeah.
that belonged to
and
the
then he
mountain.
scarred him for life.
That's awful. That's
Yeah,
so
the
sad.
mountain's not a nice guy, Shita. He's part of that thing I said before to you of like slowly, acceleratingly, every time you think this is the most despicable character ever, George R. R. Martin introduces a new character. The mountain was one of the earlier ones of those.
Oh
now
man,
he seems downright tame by comparison.
The mountain does have like probably what I feel is the most disturbing scene in the entire series.
Is it the bar sequence?
Yes, that one.
That part's fucked up.
Yes, it is.
But worse things are implied about other characters, so.
That was just that one, and it's not even happening. It's just told in the story for somebody else who's laughing about it. It's just like, oh god, this is just upsetting.
Yeah.
Okay, so next week's chapters. So we'll, just like this week, we'll be doing 4 chapters. 18, 19, 20, 21.
In what order?
You know what? We'll do it Pulp Fiction style. Pick what order you want.
Sweet. 19, 20, 18, 21. There we go.
So you just want to read the 2 Hrathen chapters together at the end?
Yeah, I just want to save the best for last.
All right. So we're reading through 21 or just to 21?
18, 19, 20, 21.
Okay, so
yeah, so just 221 should.
Huh?
No, through 21.
Oh my gosh, quit trolling me. I'm trying to write this down and you're...
I like how long you were like, is that correct? Is that true? And Joe did not correct me at all. So yeah, just read through 22 and we'll all be good, shoulda.
Right.
my god.
And one other thing I'll let you guys know and other people know, because we're after next week we'll be halfway through this book, and then we'll need to look forward to books coming up. So I'll just let people know what to pick up next. And this will be the most confusing explanation out of any times I will have to say what comes next.
A Bernstein Bears book?
Yes.
It's canon.
But because there's two different things you need to pick up. Because first will be what's called Arcanum Unbounded. Arcanum Unbounded. Because what that is, that's a collection of short stories and novellas. So throughout this, in between books, we'll be jumping in there and we'll be reading a short story here, novella there, that sort of stuff. So after we finish Elantris and before we go on to the next book, we'll be reading a short story from that. So people would want to pick up Arcanum Unbounded. And then after that, I'll have to say the other thing because that's only going to have like one short story. But next will be Mistborn, the Final Empire. And this is one where it will get pretty confusing because, the Final Empire, it's sort of a reverse version of A New Hope, where, originally it was just called Star Wars, eventually tacked on the name A New Hope, and that still wasn't used. It was just called Star Wars for a long time. Then now it's always called Star Wars A New Hope. With the Final Empire, it's the opposite. At first, the book was called, Mistborn, the Final Empire, because it's the first book of the Mistborn series. But then later printings, they pretty much just got rid of the title, The Final Empire, from the cover. So now the books just say Mistborn. So people would need to either pick up a book called Mistborn, or it may have the title Mistborn, the Final Empire.
What's happening?
Yeah, what kind of nonsense have you gotten us involved in here?
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine any short stories or other things. Is this gonna still be in Elantris in this country?
Oh, Sheta, you're real wondering. Is that it?
Yeah. I was like,
Don't
this feels
tell
like one story, like one movie, one story. Like we're gonna know what happens at the end. So I can't even imagine what all this stuff is.
Yeah, I'll tell
Is it
you.
still gonna be about Sarene? I feel like it's not.
No, don't tell us anything. I don't want to know nothing.
But yeah, I was gonna say, I think part of the reason why I get confusing with Mistborn is most likely publishers realized, you know what, let's not have a book with the word final in the first book of a series.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, so if people want to pick up, Arcanum Unbounded and Mistborn or Mistborn the Final Empire, or you could also pick up, may have a box set of the Mistborn trilogy.
Oh yeah, you never told me how many books this is gonna be.
Don't tell her.
Yeah.
A trilogy?
Yeah,
I said there's a lot.
Yeah, but now we're having trilogies and probably more yeah, I can't even imagine what this is. Is this all the same thing?
don't tell her.
Yeah, it's all the Cosmere.
Yeah, I was like, what's the Cosmere? So far I've not heard a single word that sounds like Cosmere. So
Next chapter, they'll drop it for you. They're like, we have created a Cosmere.
oh my gosh,
Be
that's
dramatic pause.
Serene's widow's trial.
We have unveiled a Cosmere.
All right, so we'll just jump right into our critically acclaimed section, the plugs.
Yay!
Oh no!
Sheta, you plug first.
Well,
Or plugs first.
Yeah, I'll go with Cosmere Chronicles. We'll have a Twitter, at Cosmere Chron, CosmerChron. There'll be a YouTube page, Cosmere Chronicles. You can, go on there. If you want to watch the video with just one single image of an artwork behind while we get the same exact thing, you can do that. Maybe leave some comments.
Is it going to be an NSFW artwork?
No, it's just the official artwork.
Oh.
But if you want to sign up to our Patreon, you might see that.
Yeah, we'll draw poorly drawn genitals on the book covers for you.
Patreon?
Yeah,
well, maybe at some point.
And you can look forward to that when we do.
And then if you want to contact us, there's also an email, cosmerechronicles@gmail.com. And I think that's about everything. I guess all podcasts always tell you to rate and review the podcast. So go ahead, give us 5 stars and give a review saying you guys are awesome. Nothing negative ever happened in your show. We love you. Say that
Yeah.
word for word.
Say we're the best part of your day.
Yep.
Then all hail Megatron. That's the end of it.
Long
Galvatron.
live the yeah.
No, Galvatron's crazy.
Long live Starscream.
No. Okay, all
King
of that we just
Starscream.
said. That's the comment.
All right. You guys can do your plugs.
After that, no one is listening to hear my plug. That was so long and so stupid. Profanity Beaver on Instagram and X and all that fun stuff for comics and art of a questionable nature.
I don't have anything. I just have my Instagram, same as usual, Sheta_low. I might start a new page for my book I'm working on, and I'll let you know in next episodes about that. That's it.
You're talking about the plugs, but when we started this, the exact thing you said, Justin, was, I will be sure to plug my stuff whenever I can.
Hey, I have every time. I haven't done a good job, but see, I'm gonna have to start doing breaks in between to say sponsored by Profanity Beaver Comics. How much will it cost for me to buy that sponsorship slot in the middle to get you to spend 2 minutes talking about it?
Oh no. How much money does NordVPN give people?
Oh god, I don't have NordVPN money.
I started seeing real commercials on television for it.
No. That's a YouTube exclusive, in my opinion. Or probably podcast too, right?
Yep, I've heard it on podcasts. And all right, and that's gonna be everything for the show. So
Oh god, we're still doing the show. Shit.
everyone, have fun.
Bye.